It's time to get you caught up with all things sports.
Yes! 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 Yes!
On the throw-in.
One thing is certain. None of this is possible without you, the listeners.
From baseball, football, wrestling, and more, covering local Cincinnati sports, stories, news, and highlights.
Why is he always calling me?
With your host, Justin Trento.
When it's all said and done, we're going to look back and remember this is what started it all.
Available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Let's play the ball! Let's play the ball!
What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin. For the next 2 hours, we got a bunch of sports coming your way here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon on this fine summer, August the 9th. The sun is out. It's a little breezy, a little humid outside. It kind of rained earlier today. And you know what? We are getting ready for the Cincinnati Bengals and the Green Bay Packers, which will be underway here in just about a little over 48 hours. Game one of a preseason game. And I don't know. Just tell me how you guys feel for a moment, because if you're asking me, I kind of just feel relieved. I feel energetic. I'm ready for this football season. And, when the Reds are not playing well, as they have not been playing well the last couple of, weeks, you find something else that you can, be motivated for. Well, the NFL is another motivation, right? You got football 5 days a week coming up here at the end of the month, beginning of September, and we're getting ready for week one. So, I heard early on in my comment section here, Trey the Champ, former co-host of this program, good friend of mine out here in the Northern Kentucky area, he posted up breaking news. The King Joe Burrow has been spotted on the practice field today for the first time since the injury. It's been about 2 weeks since Burrow went down with the calf strain. And I don't know how long Burrow is going to. I don't know. I don't think Burrow is going to play a single snap in the preseason. That's my prediction early on. But it was definitely a scare. And for reports to only say that there's still so much uncertainty about his status, and that Burrow could potentially be out for weeks here, does bring a bit of a concern. Okay? I would not lie to you when it comes down to how concerned I am about Joe Burrow's health, the Cincinnati Bengals' health in general, heading into this campaign this season, because of everything that's happened during the offseason. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals had their first joint practice with the Green Bay Packers, and yesterday the wife gave me a call, and she was like, hey, listen, we're backed up in traffic. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon. This is what I'm assuming happened, is that, the highway was blocked off. You had, law enforcement escorting a couple of coaches down the 75 from CVG, all headed up their way to Cincinnati. And the first thing that came to my mind was that the Green Bay Packers had gotten themselves a VIP ride, landed off the bus. They're going to joint practice today and then tomorrow, and then they have walkthroughs tomorrow, and then they have the game on Friday. I thought that was cool, though. When you get to see and up and close firsthand of things like that, that's to happen. But like I said, there is a concern for the Cincinnati Bengals this year. For one, okay, Lamar Jackson does not have any restraints behind him. Last year, he was playing in a dispute on his contract extension. Y'all wanted a new contract, and they tagged him, and they kept him playing. And he got hurt last year, and there was arguments and conversations that you can choose which side you wanted to be at the table. But the argument was that he got hurt at the end of last year, and he chose not to travel with the team, and two, he chose not to play in the playoffs, which probably costed them a postseason opportunity deep into January. I mean, I understand the ins and outs of the reasoning behind Lamar Jackson not playing, okay? But we also know at the end of the postseason, when your team is in the playoffs or scrambling for a playoff spot, that you would do anything you can, play injured, play not injured, because you're going to have 6 months of healing time before you got to hit the field again. You go get anything done that you want to get done, that you play through some injuries. Lamar Jackson didn't do so. And I can't help, he can deny it, and his agents can deny it all he wants. But I feel that there was a bit of him holding back because of his contract. He's not going to put himself out there on the line because, and risk his future of professional football without, just because a team wants to win a playoff game. So, but you have that out of the way. He's healthy. He signed his contract extension, so you don't have to worry about that. The Ravens went on to the offseason, picked up Odell Beckham Jr. And arguably, I feel that if there's any team to give the Bengals a run for their money in the AFC North, it would be Baltimore. And we'll get through their schedule at some point here in this preseason, and we'll talk about games. And I think it's going to be a nice, close game. Now, that's all given that since, Baltimore picks up their own, their incentives. Well, you got Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. You got a Steelers team that has not been below 500 football since in the past 16 years under Mike Tomlin. This is also the very first year that we get to see Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. That may be a do or die moment, but there's no excuses. He does not have a 11-game suspension, although I will say Jacoby Brissett handled himself pretty well, and that's why I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is playing as a backup quarterback on a different team. We'll get to that at some point. But that's just in the AFC North alone. Let's not to mention Justin Herbert's getting better, and he just signed his contract extension. Patrick Mahomes is still at the top of the food chain. Let's admit to that. We have, let me see here, Trevor Lawrence, who is, getting better, hopefully, as the years prevail. We have the two, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson down in Houston and Indianapolis. And there, as that franchise starts, those franchises are starting to recycle. They got they've hopefully gotten their starting quarterback, their franchise quarterback, and now they could build off of it in the next couple of years. Got Josh Allen in Buffalo saying, hey, I think I know what I need to do to change to live long, to have a long hold in the NFL. And it's just now he has to apply that. You got Tua Tagovailoa, which this is going to be a side note, and I get worried about. We'll talk about Tua in today's episode. And then you got Bill Belichick, who thinks he's better than Tom Brady, yet we haven't seen it. And then we get the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers. And I can't help that New York are going to have not one, but two successful teams. And hopefully by the end of this season, not to be the Debbie Downer, not to be a bandwagon, but I do hope and I do support, hopefully, saying both teams are into seeing the new, seeing postseason action. So the Bengals have their work cut out for them. The problem that I see with the Bengals, okay, and this could be a blessing in disguise, could be the reason why they're not going to do so well, is because of so many transactions that did not occur. Right? We lost not one, not two, but 3 players in the backfield, which is devastating. I'm upset with the fact that they couldn't capture at least one of them. Bell, Apple, Eli Apple, and someone else. Top of my head. But listen, you got a younger group of guys on their defense. They've been in the NFL combination of a couple of years. I wouldn't mark them as good as they were last year, but I feel like if anything, if the Bengals are going to make a key argument for this year's playoffs, it's going to be under their defense ability. We know the main problem for Cincinnati. And it's the same problem as it was at the end of last year. And that was the offensive line. Arguably, they say that the Bengals offensive line have gotten better. But the Bengals know by now that they need depth. And so the question is that do they have depth? Because I've already seen articles and reports that some offensive line for the Bengals have kind of been banged up already. We haven't even played a preseason game yet, and they're banged up already. We're going to rely on, Orlando Brown to get us through the promised land. And then we see day one of training camp, a calf strain, re-injured from years past to Joe Burrow. And you can't help to wonder if that's going to play any effect on his ability this season. He's a pocket guy. He can move. You rely on him to move. You rely on him to run if needed. But you got to be a bit worried because he's been 2 weeks not seen on the practice field. Obviously, he's not playing Friday night's game against the Packers. I don't really expect him to play a single football game this preseason. I expect him to be ready, if not by week 1 in Cleveland. I expect him to be ready by Baltimore the second week of the season, first home game at Paycor Stadium. So I hope that this is all what they would consider quote unquote work. But, this was one of the reasons why Joe Burrow was taken out his rookie year. And this is, when you reactivate the same injury, and there's really nothing you can do to really care or tender and provide TLC to this injury. You can't go put a brace on it. I mean, you could put a sleeve, but what more is a sleeve going to do for you? Can't go put a knee brace or an ankle brace and tape it up. I mean, you talk about rubbing, maybe massaging it out, maybe a couple cortisone shots, possibly. But realistically, what more can you possibly do for a calf injury that he probably hasn't already done other than heal? So I know it's more of a Debbie Downer for the Cincinnati Bengals fans, but we got to be realistic here. Okay, I mean, I still have high hopes of whatever happens. But when you consider the Bengals going out there and signing a draft pick, or not signing a draft pick, but signing a free agent as a quarterback market, which there's no true free agent available at QB slot that can give you solid games. So you're just basically finding a backup for Trevor Siemian. And you look at Trevor Siemian, and I don't want to put, I'm not thinking he's a bad quarterback. I don't know too much about him. I know he's played a bit here and there, but he hasn't been he hasn't been nothing special. Then you do get, I guess, you get concerned because I don't think the team is going to get behind Siemian, especially if he doesn't succeed. Are they going to have the patience? And I feel the Bengals are still on the same level. I'm going to say they're in the same boat as the Buffalo Bills, where we'll talk about it today, but I feel like the Bills are kind of on their final stretch. It's a win or go home at this point for Buffalo. And, you have, I think, a future more so with Cincinnati that's going to last a couple more years, but I feel like they are on a somewhat of a stretch where if you don't win now, then maybe your window of opportunity has run out of luck. Because, listen, Patrick Mahomes just seems to get better and better and better. And then, Justin Herbert got that contract extension. C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, hopefully one of those two quarterbacks can be something special. Aaron Rodgers took a pay cut to play 2 years in New York for the Jets. You're thinking that he is hoping over the next 2 years to make some sort of Super Bowl run. You throw in Buffalo and then, whatever teams are making impacts. It's a dangerous AFC for the future. So, but hey, if that is true to what Trey said, I'm happy because we get to see Burrow back, even if he's just out there stretching with the team and he's on the sidelines. He's making progress. All right, so in our 2-hour program this afternoon, we're going to talk about I know I visited last week with the NFC East, the Cowboys and the Giants. I'm going to revisit them, probably change a little bit of my predictions of the schedule. We're going to go through the NFC East entirely. So the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders. We're also going to head on and begin ourselves out there on the AFC East this week, still trying to catch up on our timeline, and talk about the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk a little bit about WWE SummerSlam, which took place this past weekend. Give you our thoughts of predictions. Now, I did do a prediction episode, not with us. As a matter of fact, last week I filled in 2 of 3 recording episodes over there at the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast with Steve Barber. Dwayne Davis was out on vacation. So, encourage you, if you guys are true wrestling fans, to check their podcast out. They just did an episode Monday that was released yesterday with NWF Star Rider as they get ready for NWF Summer Sizzler. So check out their podcast. I did one last week with Steve, giving you our predictions over SummerSlam's match card, and I think I did pretty well. I'll have to check back in and let you guys know how I did. The Cincinnati Reds are also in a game, a 3-game series. Johnny Cueto is back in town, old familiar face. So we'll talk a little bit about Reds, but mainly football today as we give you guys predictions and then WWE as well. All right. So we're going to take our first time out. If you guys are watching us on our YouTube channel, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. If you guys are watching us on our Facebook and Twitter page, thank you. Hit that like button, share it with your friend. If you guys want to get in the comments, and we would love for you guys to weigh in your thoughts and opinions, head on over to our YouTube channel where you can leave our comments. That will be even displayed on our screen this afternoon. If you guys are listening to us on our audio platforms, we thank you. Be sure to leave us a review. If you guys miss any episodes or any segments, be sure to check us out at our website at www.tncsportstalkshow.com. That is www.tncsportstalkshow.com. All right, go step aside, and when we come on back, we'll talk about some AFC East here You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Looking back at the good times before it all went down. Climbed right up on the hillside, a different view of my life. You left me running on and on, but I don't care, would you let me in? You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my You say that you're sorry. We turn the page and make up. A broken trust got you haunted. The doubt in you was enough to leave me chasing you on and on. But I don't care, I will let you in. You said goodbye like everything's gone, everything that we could have been. But I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my liability. Oh, what a hopeless case we could be. Yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in. But I'm your liability. I know you are my liability. Yeah, I know you are my liability. Oh, what a hopeless case we could be. Yeah. Oh, what a hopeless place that we're in.
All right, 325 here on the program. I want to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can create podcasts, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out their free version today at StreamYard.com. Got Got a couple messages before the break here. All right, let's get down to the wire here, and we're going to kick ourselves off with some, let's say, Dallas Cowboys, AFC. Now, like I said, I last week I came on here and I gave you guys a analysis of the Cowboys, a prediction over the regular schedule and whatnot. So we're just going to work one team at a time. Take our time doing so. And I think that's one thing that I want to, enforce is taking our time talking about each and every team and go through and see what's available. So I'm sharing my screen here with the Dallas Cowboys, and this is what they have going on their website. Okay. First thing that down to the Cowboys is, let me see right here in my notes. My number one thing that I get worried about when it comes down to the Cowboys are playoff runs more impactful or even better than a Super Bowl run or even a win. So the Dallas Cowboys. No, okay, let me rephrase this here. When you go out there and you win a playoff, when you go win a division, you get recognized for it. You hold up a division trophy, and win or lose out of the postseason, you go on and you have something to talk about. Dallas Cowboys have won a couple of NFC East here in the recent years. But then I think, go along the line of, if you make the wild card, you're just a team who makes the wild card, in my opinion. And I've said this before at the beginning of this preseason, and I'll say it again because I think it's worth being mentioned. Last year, I know who the two teams were in the Super Bowl. That was the Eagles and the Chiefs. And last year, I know maybe 3 or 4 playoff teams. I mean, I can name more. Talk about the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Giants, the Vikings, okay, the Seahawks, the Bengals, the Bills, the Chargers, the Jaguars. If you ask me to name the two teams that were in Super Bowl 10 years ago, I'm more likely be able to tell you that one compared to the playoff teams that qualified for the Super Bowl. You win or lose or the division. So an overall thought in the NFL, it's great winning and great going to the postseason in January. You could go 10 years and yeah, that's a dynasty run. I give you credit where credit's due, but unless you win the big name trophy, which is the Super Bowl in this matter, realistically, does those playoff runs even matter? Does that success even count? And for me personally, on a personal level, and I'm apologizing ahead of time for upsetting Cowboy fans, I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott. I'm not a fan over the last couple of years. Cooper Rush last year came in and did the same amount of work, same amount of success. He has one off game, which I wouldn't even consider was an off game, and he gets taken out. Prescott gets put back in. It seems like every other year Prescott gets hurt. And I guess I just wonder, how long does the Dallas Cowboys hold on to their franchise quarterback? Especially if this franchise quarterback is not taking them to a postseason run or to that leads to a Super Bowl. So let's take a look at the team. Realistically, let's see if we go to the depth chart. And you can find this on the NFL website. You can find this on the DallasCowboys.com website. This is where I'm at today, right now, as we speak. All right. So you look at some of the depth chart. Dak Prescott's first string, yeah, given. Cooper Rush is second string quarterback, and I do like Cooper Rush, and I think he has improved and he has earned my backup position. Maybe last year I would have sat here and said, who is Cooper Rush? But now I feel confident, or I feel trustworthy, that if Dak Prescott is not able to play, that Cooper Rush could step in and he could fill some pretty big shoes there in Dallas. And I hope his success runs over. Okay. Sometimes there's just this second string quarterback that fits the second string position quite well. And Cooper Rush is one of those guys. This year, you don't have Ezekiel Elliott. As a matter of fact, from my understanding, he's still a free agent, which is a bit alarming, but I'll take it. You take a little bit of the drama away from your squad. And the NFC is not really known for their running ability, although I still believe the running game is one of the key threes of winning a ball game. Run, defense, penalties. Run, defense, special teams. I'll put it that way. But they got Tony Pillard, Rico Dowdle, Malik Davis. Okay. CD Lamb is their wide receiver. Okay. Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup seems pretty average. Defense, they seem to have everything filled out. Now, given that their preseason schedule, no one gets hurt and everyone stays healthy, I feel like they have a solid squad heading into the regular season. But oh, by the way, they kicked things off against the New York Giants. So let's get to that point. Preseason football for the Dallas Cowboys. That begins this Saturday night at home against Jacksonville. America's greatest team taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. And there's really, I'm going to say this for the first and foremost. I'll mention these preseason games, but they're really nothing too much to look into, as you have a lot of teams that are just looking for guys to make the squad. And for the Cowboys, there isn't a lot of battles, maybe for second and third string positions, but for starters, there isn't a lot of battles. So this Saturday, you got a 4 p.m. Central Standard Time against Jacksonville Jaguars. You jump on the road out to Seattle to take on the Seahawks at Lumen Field. And then you wrap things up in 2 weeks against the Las Vegas Raiders back at AT&T Stadium. And then you jump to the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. And as I mentioned about the New York Giants, okay, that the New York Giants, as well as the Jets, will actually have their own logo displayed at the 50-yard line this year, which is, I think, pretty remarkable. Now we get into the conversation of week one. They're facing New York Giants. They're facing Daniel Jones, this team that signed Saquon Barkley to a contract, 1-year deal. They got no means necessary. I feel like the New York Giants comes in at home, takes care of business, game one. Oh, by the way, it's Sunday Night Football game. So I got game one, the Giants walking away with the W. And then they come home to face the New York Jets. And I feel like they barely beat Aaron Rodgers, but they'll beat Aaron Rodgers at home. They're then head down to Arizona, which they should pick up a victory. Nice and easy. And they're back home for the Patriots and Bill Belichick, at which then I still think they should pick up a nice, easy victory. They'll be on the road back-to-back weeks before a bye. Week 5, they'll have a Sunday game. And by the way, these are all Sunday games except for week 1. It was a Sunday night game. This is a Sunday night game in week 5. They'll lose to the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium before heading down south to SoFi Stadium and facing the Chargers on a Monday night game, at which I think they'll lose. Close games, by the way. They're not going to be very, even unless something drastically happens, I don't think they're going to be anywhere like by a far stretch long scoring games. And even if Cooper Rush was in the sense the starting quarterback for one of these games, I think there was a good ability. After they come back from the bye, they host the Los Angeles Rams, which I think they win. And then I think they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. Then they'll come home to face the Giants. And let's remember, this is all Sunday afternoon games coming back. They'll come home and face the Giants at home, which they will pick up the victory at AT&T Stadium, followed by a victory in Carolina on Sunday, week 11, and then a victory against the Washington Commanders back at home. That's going to be a Thursday night football game, a Christmas time, or not Christmas, Thanksgiving time football game, week 12. Week 13, you'll have another Thursday night football game, which will be back-to-back against the Seahawks, at which I have them losing, followed by, with all the turkey they're eating and, the long weekend of holiday spirit, they'll end up losing to the Seahawks at home, followed by the Eagles at home. So they'll get swept by the Eagles. They'll lose to the Bills on the road before picking up their next victory. Okay. The next victory is going to be at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami against the Dolphins, Christmas Eve. So they'll pick up that victory. They'll go on to pick up the victory against the Lions. And then the last game of the season, they'll pick up the victory on the road against the Washington Commanders. I feel like that would be hopefully good enough to, captivate a postseason run to finish off the season. In my prediction, 10-7. It's quite interesting thinking about all of this, to be honest, because we're going to do week by week predictions, and those may very well be different than what my preseason predictions are going to be. But I feel like the Dallas Cowboys are going to finish off their season. They're going to finish off 10-7, and they'll be in second place here in the NFC East. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we come on back, I want to talk a little bit. We'll jump into the Giants, the Eagles, and try to wrap up with the Commanders if we have time for that. So let's take a break. Come on back. We got a lot more to talk about. You guys are listening to The Throne here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Inside your bedroom, we stopped counting the days, lost in the rhythm. Physical silence, no need to speak a word, laying here beside me. Don't wanna move too far,
Alrighty, 342 here on a 2-hour program. A lot of it's going to be predictions. Like I said, wrapping up last week's prediction in the NFC East, beginning the AFC East today, and then talking a little bit about professional wrestling. WWE SummerSlam may roll over, most likely will roll over to tomorrow and into Friday. The Reds will have a day off tomorrow, a well-needed day off. They do need it. They have advantage. They currently have a 5-4 lead. Nope, excuse me. My bad. Brian Dela Cruz. I thought it was Ellie Dela Cruz, but Brian Dela Cruz hit a solo home run on the top of the 9th inning to give the Marlins a 5-4 lead. And they would be dropping this series if they can't come back. So anyways, all right. So hopefully the Reds, we'll talk about the Reds probably more in depth tomorrow, more so heading into Friday, which I believe they'll actually be on the road on Friday. So we'll talk about that later. Let's get down into the Philadelphia Eagles. New York Giants, excuse me. I talked a little bit about them last week. I'm going to redo my, excuse me, my overall predictions for the New York Giants. And this one I think is pretty interesting because they seem to be on the borderline between a good team and a decent team. Re-signing Daniel Jones, adding, and re-signing a 1-year contract, what I thought was going to play into the course of this season. But you know what? They gave Saquon Barkley a $10 million 1-year deal, which I think, I think it's an alright deal. You have the problems at the quarterback positions in general. So, well, not quarterback, but running back issues. So I feel like the New York Giants are kind of right there with everything else. Now, you still got the Dallas Cowboys, who I wouldn't rule out quite yet, and the Philadelphia Eagles, which my overall thought of the Eagles is that, hey, you have to, I don't want to buy in on a team quite yet thanks to 1-year experience or 1-year success. I did this with the Bengals a couple years back. They, went on to the Super Bowl, and everyone is believed that they are the team, that they're going to be around for a decade and they're going to win 6-7 Super Bowls. And, let's all jump into that bandwagon stage. Well, when it comes down to a team success, when it comes down to a quarterback success, you got to convince me on a multi-year deal. I'm not going to buy I'm not put all my blue chips into a Bryce Young. I'm going to pull all my blue chips into a Trevor Lawrence yet. And I'm not going to put my blue chips into a Jalen Hurts, unfortunately. And, we talk about Daniel Jones being in that conversation mix. So he had a playoff run at a division that honestly probably in a league that's probably not complicated to get to the postseason. You go on and you have a great game against Minnesota, and then what happens against Philadelphia? You don't show up. So, you try again this year. And that's where I think, the success is going to be as good as they want themselves to be, because they have the opportunity that I feel personally, because I don't really feel there's much coming out of the South this year. I don't feel Washington Commanders challenging anyone this year. I don't feel, I could see Minnesota, Chicago. I could see the North being pretty good, but on average. And then the West has so much questions that have yet to be answered. So I really do believe that the Giants could walk away as long as they want it, as long as they're playing hard for it, and as long as they can continue to improve. And they seem to have that part. Saquon Barkley is added up on that running back side. So you have the run game issue. And I think this year you utilize him. You have Darius Slayton, Darren Waller, wide receiver, tight end. You also got Isaiah Hodgkins. Okay. So I feel like nothing's really much changed. You kind of kept things the same. You've improved a little bit, but it's now let's build experience. And this is where I think that the Giants' success could be more on par average. They begin their preseason game. Okay. They put their preseason game this Friday, okay, on the road against Detroit Lions. Then they'll play next Friday against Carolina at home. And they'll wrap up the preseason at home against the New York Jets. The last note I had for the New York Giants was that, hey, Saquon Barkley, you had this deal. You got paid. Congratulations, my friend. Now it's time to show the world why you consider yourself to be one of the best running backs in all of the NFL. You want to get paid? Well, here you go. This is your opportunity. All right, so let's get down to the schedule. We talked about the Giants picking up the first game of the season at home against the Dallas Cowboys. And then they head on the road to Arizona, which I think they will be 2-0 to begin the season. Then they head over to San Francisco, which I think they'll pick up a loss, followed by the Seattle Seahawks at home, where I think they'll pick up a victory. Jumping down to week 5 in Miami, I feel like they'll win against Miami, and they'll lose against Miami, and they'll go on to lose against Buffalo. 2 tough road games out there on the East Coast, going down south, going up north. You come on back and beat the Commanders, probably taking a little bit of your frustration out of the 2 losses in week 7. Then you head into week 9, losing against the Jets, and you kind of spiral down until the bye week, where you lose against the Raiders, the Cowboys, and the Commanders in week 11. You pick up a Thanksgiving victory on Sunday, November 26th, against the New England Patriots at home before you head on to the bye. Then you got Green Bay Packers, which you can pick up a victory there because you realize that, hey, this is our only option at the postseason, followed by a victory against the Saints, a loss in Philadelphia, a win home against the Rams, and then a win because Philadelphia is be like, hey, we're already in the postseason. No matter what we do, no matter how we turn it out, we're going to go ahead and just hold on, let the Cowboys win. And they may or may not get that chance to be in the postseason, depending how the rest of the division works out. All right, let's jump over to the Philadelphia Eagles here. And these are defending NFC champions. Came so close last year. Jalen Hurts gets his big contract. Eagles look to be add a couple more pieces to the squad. And their goal is to run it back. Their goal is to have success with what they have on hand. And as I mentioned to you already, I'm not buying into the Eagles quite yet. I'm not buying into Jalen Hurts quite yet. I need to see another year of continuous success. Now, does that mean that Jalen Hurts doesn't have what it takes to, lead, or this Eagles team has what it takes to have multi-year success? No, I think that they are set up to be a good team for a couple of years at least. But I refuse to buy in. It's my standard. Give me at least another year where you can make it and go back and win the division, which I think they will, and then we'll go from there. And I could go put Jalen Hurts. I was looking at the NFL top 100, and they put Jalen Hurts above a Joe Burrow, and they put a Jalen Hurts above a Jalen Hurts. And I honestly, I laugh. I laugh at that. I'm like, realistically, you're putting a Jalen Hurts who went to the Super Bowl last year and lost above a Joe Burrow who went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, lost, went to the AFC Championship the past 2 years, and then lost. Really? I don't quite understand how the NFL top 100 quite works. Well, let's get down to predictions here. Got to fill the screen a bit. All right. Well, let's take a look at, as a matter of fact, let's take a look at the team if we can. See if there's any depth chart. Probably not. It doesn't look like they have a depth chart ready quite yet, which is fine. So we're going to jump over to the schedule. All right. Their first preseason game this year is in Baltimore on Saturday night. And then they'll play at home this coming up Thursday, not tomorrow, but next Thursday, against the Cleveland Browns. And then they'll take on the Indianapolis Colts to wrap up the preseason. So this is where I have the season goes here for the Philadelphia Eagles. They begin their first game on the road in New England, taking on Bill Belichick, where they drop the first game of the season. They'll come back at home against the Vikings to pick up a victory. They'll begin the season 1-1. And then I think Baltimore will be a walk through the park, followed by the Washington Commanders, a road and a home game. Then I will think that they will drop to the Los Angeles Rams. But don't worry, because they'll beat Aaron Rodgers on a Sunday afternoon in October in Week 6, followed by beating the Miami Dolphins. Then they'll lose in Washington to the Commanders a couple nights before Halloween, Week 8. Week 9, they'll take on the Dallas Cowboys, at which they will win before their bye. Now, the Philly Eagles will have a couple of tough games after their bye week here, because a week before Thanksgiving and Thanksgiving weekend, they'll be on the road to Kansas City, at which they'll lose, I believe, and then they'll lose in Buffalo against Buffalo at home, after then picking up a victory against San Francisco and going on that nice little winning streak here, beating the Cowboys, beating the Seahawks, beating the Giants, and beating the Cardinals, to leave it up to a loss at the end of the season in New York at MetLife Stadium against the Giants. They'll finish off 11-6 on the season. They'll win the NFC East. I don't even know if they'll have the first round bye. But that is my initial thought for the Philadelphia Eagles 2023 season. And I tell you, it's going to be fascinating. I personally believe that the NFC East is probably going to be the most intriguing division of the year. And the way that I am looking at the NFC, because the NFC, I think overall, isn't going to be all that invasive. I think you have a lot of good teams in disguises that we'll probably be impressed by a lot of teams this year when we talk a little bit more about it. But I expect the East to probably be dominating the overall concept of the NFC league itself. So, I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the predictions go. All right. Our number one is have come and gone. Good. Our number one has come and gone. We're going to take ourselves a time out. Week rest and get ready for our number two. We will wrap up the NFC We will begin with the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. And then we're jumping to the WWE. WWE SummerSlam this past weekend. What were your thoughts? We'll explain a lot more coming up in hour number two. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't go nowhere. because more of the throwing continues right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be. Life with no distractions, we'll get away. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of the program is given to you thanks to Spreaker from iHeartRadio, where you can upload, view analytics, and monetize each of your individual podcasts. Spreaker.com has a distribution over all major audio platforms such as iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and more. Check out their free version today at Spreaker.com. The Marlins just beat the Cincinnati Reds to take a series loss at home. They'll be, I believe, headed on the road. Let me see here. I have it somewhere. They'll be on the road against Pittsburgh and take on the Pirates in a 3-game series, and they just seem to be falling back of the division slowly by slowly. They're currently third in the NL Central, just 2 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers as of today. In the wild card standings, they are right now a half a game back as Philadelphia, San Francisco, Chicago, and Miami are all in the hunt right now, leading in the top teams. You talk about the mid to the back of August, a team can hit that cold streak. Yeah, you want that cold streak to happen now, I would say, and fix the bugs and try to get back on the winning ways towards the end of the month and the final month of the season. But when you face a team like Miami, who is contingency right now, is the same as yours. You just got done losing 3 of 4 against Chicago last week, which was not a good because they took over second place. And then you get swept by a last place Nationals team. And it's like, what are you guys doing? And you just can't help but maybe think, ironically, that this all had to do with something from maybe not making a deal before the deadline. So, man, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But hopefully things turn around this weekend. All right. We've been talking about the NFL predictions. Catching you guys up from last week, we revisited the NFC East. And we're going to finish that up with the Washington Nationals, or Washington Commanders, excuse me. And then jumping our way to the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Today we'll have the Patriots and the Jets tomorrow, and then an overall view of the AFC East on Friday to wrap up the week. At least that's what we're hoping to accomplish today. All right, the Washington Nationals, they kind of lost themselves last year from a postseason run, and I think it's kind of hysterical. You know, they're a couple of days away. They'll have a preseason game on the road in Cleveland this Friday night. They'll head over to play a Monday night game next week against Baltimore, and then they'll wrap the preseason up against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I just don't know. I don't see much improvement. I don't see much more than what the team did. And maybe that is by default where I'm at. And I just, you have the Eagles who made an impact last year. You had the Cowboys who are still always kind of in there until they prove you otherwise. The Giants have, you know, they shine light of, hey, we can go to the postseason. Why don't we go? Well, man, I mean, I got to tell you, Washington kind of lost that opportunity. Can they pick up where they left off at? Sure, they can. They got Jacoby Brissett, and this is where I like about the team. You got Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell, kind of one of those 2 quarterbacks that we mentioned fighting for a playoff opportunity. And I hope that spot goes to Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if he is a full on starting quarterback in my books, but you know, he showed me some light last year from Baltimore that he can, not Baltimore, from Cleveland, that he could do some stuff. So I'm shooting my wild chances with Jacoby. I mean, if you're asking me, that's where I stand. All right. We take a look at their season and their schedule. Okay. And like I said, I think one of the biggest issues that you have against the Commanders is that you have a growing division, and can you keep up? So There we go. All right, preseason, regular season. All right, they begin things at home against the Arizona Cardinals, which I think that they'll end up picking up a loss to begin the season, followed by a road win in Denver against the Broncos. Heading into week 3, they lose against Buffalo, then they lose against Philadelphia on the road before picking up a victory against the Bears and on the road against the Atlanta Falcons. So first 6 games, 3-3, doesn't look too terrible, right? Then they'll take on the Giants on the road, which they'll lose, followed by another loss, actually a win at home against the Eagles. So they'll split that series. A victory on the road against the Patriots, followed by a loss against Seattle on the road at Lumen Stadium. They'll pick up a victory against the Giants and lose on the road at AT&T Stadium against the Cowboys. They'll beat Tua Tagovailoa before their bye week, week 14. And before the bye week, there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7-6. And I think this is where things maybe start going downhill. I have them losing the rest of the remaining of the games of the season. That will be 2 road trips against the Rams and to the Jets. They'll also lose against the 49ers and Cowboys. And the reason why I say this is that especially the Jets, who are probably going to be contending around that time, and the 49ers and the Cowboys, all picked up the victory. The only game I see that they could potentially win is the Rams, but I didn't bet on it. So they'll finish off the season 7-10 record, last of the NFC East. So how my finish predictions are gonna go here? I have the Philadelphia Phillies finishing in first place with 11-6 finish of the division, followed by the Dallas Cowboys, who are 10-7. The New York Giants are 9-8, followed by a 7-10 Commanders. Possibly 8-9 even, but I feel like the Commanders are going to be in last place. Any team in this division, so Eagles I would predict win the division. Dallas could contend. Even the Giants could contend for a wild card opportunity, but I don't have the rest of the predictions out yet. So I'll have to get on to that. So, all right, that is my overall. Like I said, it's going to be a nice season for the NFC. I think that's going to probably be one of the more compelling divisions that anybody else has the offer. All right, so we're going to jump over to the Buffalo Bills and take a look at the AFC East here to begin the season. And this goes back around to me saying, let's get myself up here, me saying about Josh Allen. And we talked about Josh Allen and the Bills. I truly do feel like the window of opportunity for the Bills are kind of running thin. We just drafted this new set of quarterbacks in C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson in the South. We're also seeing Trevor Lawrence improve. Still don't have no hope for Mac Jones in New England. Tua Tagovailoa, we'll talk about next. He's expected to return. And then we get Aaron Rodgers for 2 years. So, with the healthy Tua Tagovailoa and Aaron Rodgers, I feel like this division could give Buffalo a run for their money. But I still feel like Buffalo may have the better of the divisions, better of the 4 teams. But my thing is it's not about how many times you win a division. It's not about how many times you go to the playoffs. It's about trying to get to the Super Bowl. The Bills have tried and tried again, and they remain failing. That is the concern that I have. Is when is that time frame down? I mean, and they're like let me put it this way: compared them to the Cowboys, they have definitely played better than the Cowboys. I don't question that. So, you also see Joe Burrow taking his place. You see Justin Herbert signing that contract, Lamar Jackson in the mix. You also see Patrick Mahomes at the top of the table, right? Jimmy Garoppolo goes over to the Raiders. I don't know how much of that improvement is going to be. But overall, the AFC is just growing and becoming a massive conundrum to be like, all right, what the hell do we do with these, 16, 15 teams, 16 teams? And you wonder where Buffalo Bills, and I do feel like their window of opportunity is going to kind of run thing. Now, hey, good news is congratulations to Damar Hamlin, okay, who returned to practice, full padded practice. Now, for me as a parent with two younger kids, and I'll have a third one coming on the way here in a couple months, I'm generally concerned about the health of guys like Tua Tagovailoa, who's had concussion problems, Damar Hamlin, who had a severe heart attack. I hate to use the term, but he died on the field at Paycor Stadium. Who says it doesn't happen again? And with that being said, I do wish him the best. I hope that he comes on and he could play, but I don't know. I would just be optimistic about how long he'll play for. But Josh Allen also said something that I think people need to keep a note of. He admits during the offseason that he's not going to be the same quarterback that he once was. That he's not going to be this high-flying quarterback, that he's going to have to learn to stay in the pocket, take some heat, and grow. And if he could do that, I think the Bills could have a legitimate chance. And, if he can adjust right and the players can adjust to him, then I think that it would be actually well suitable. It could extend his playing career. But it's easier said than done. I know I know Josh Allen says he knows what he needs to do, but can he do it? I think is the key question. So let's jump down to the preseason where they kick things off this Saturday against the Indianapolis Colts. They'll also play next Saturday in Pittsburgh against the Steelers, and they'll wrap up the preseason on the road against the Chicago Bears. And they begin week 1 of this new campaign in New York at MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. Just right off the bat, they're going to welcome Aaron Rodgers to the AFC East with open arms. And I'm pretty hyped about watching Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, that I actually give a pretty bold game 1 loss to the Buffalo Bills. We know they're not going to be 17-0. So game 1 loss. Week number 2, they'll host the Raiders, and I feel like they'll go on a nice little 5-game win streak here. So a couple easy teams will host the Raiders. They'll pick up a victory then. They'll be on the road to Washington, which they'll win in Washington. They'll beat Miami in game 1 against Tua. They'll beat Jacksonville, New York, New England, or they'll get down to New England week 7, and that's going to be a loss. I think Bill Belichick has his number on the road. They'll come back to Tampa Bay where they'll pick up a victory, and then they'll head over to Paycor Stadium to have a rematch, divisional rematch, where I think Cincinnati picks up the victory to begin November. Then they'll beat the Broncos. They'll go back and beat the Jets with retribution at home. And they'll go on to beat Philadelphia on the road before the bye. So before their bye, I predict that they're only going to lose 3 games. And they're going to have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They'll be 9-3. They'll face Kansas City on the road when they get back, which week 14. I figure they'll lose that game. They'll pick up the Cowboys game, but they'll lose the Chargers game because I feel like the Chargers need a win win out to make it to the postseason in Week 16. They'll pick up a Patriots game, and they're comfortably in the postseason to lose to the Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins want to upset a couple of scenarios here. So I predict that the Buffalo Bills will finish their season 11-6, possibly 12-5, given the Chargers game there. But they're probably most likely going to finish off the division pretty good. Probably in the top of they probably win the division again. All right, we got to cut to a break here, and then we're going to wrap our predictions up against the Miami Dolphins. We'll talk about Tua Tagovailoa, and honestly, what do I think he should do? And what he shouldn't do? That's still to come. Plus, take a look at what happened, the hottest event of the summer this past weekend in SummerSlam. Feature some athletes. Much more of that still to come. You guys are listening to The Throne here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Going on, everyone? Justin here from the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you, the listeners. That's right. Without you guys, none of this is possible. I would also like to take the time and invite you out to our merchandise page, thanks to T Public. Our merchandise page is where you can find all of our brandings from the Throne, which is currently active weekly, to the TNC Sports Talk official brands, to either the prior shows that was part of the TNC Sports Talk Foundation. Now, within all the brandings, you can select T-shirts in both men and female sizes, apparel such as hoodies, kids onesies, kids T-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, coffee mugs. They have a vast majority. This is why I love T-Public. And right now, if you spend $80 or more, you get free shipping. And so we want to invite you out to our merchandise page by heading on over to tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk, or even using the QR code up in the right-hand corner. We want to thank you guys again, the listeners, for supporting us, and we hope to see you guys out wearing our merchandise. Alrighty, 422 here on the Throwing Hour number 2. I want to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. All right, before we talk about the Miami Dolphins here, it's just the way that I feel like we're going to be able to get this, the rest of this program going, which we'll have to definitely finish talking about SummerSlam tomorrow. But we'll talk about that here at the end of hour number 2. But anyways, I want to go ahead and share with you a project that I've been working on the last couple of weeks. Met a great guy. His name is Tony. He came down here to the northern Kentucky area, and he has a store. He has a apparel and accessory store, and his main expertise is in tie-dye, is in handbags, unique collections, artifacts, and whatnot. And it's a little store that he's invested in, full-on investment in. Well, I've been getting to know Tony over the past year, and one thing that we learned is that the traffic that comes through his store just doesn't quite feel the same, right? Because he's off in a little small area of like a little small like open area for there's a La Rosa's next door, there's a dentist across the street, there's a Walgreens. We're in a small community, so I was like, hey, listen, you have to grow your foot traffic, right? And don't worry about the traffic in the store. We got to start talking. So we started talking about some business ideas and how to grow his store. And I'm doing this. I'm out of work right now dealing with an injury. And, I'm like, listen, Tony, hey, I feel personally that if you put yourself and you kind of go halfway and meet your customers halfway, that you start building product and you start building customers and revenue. Because he's always out there looking for the newest great things. He has gems, jewels and gems and hoodies and jackets, tie dyes, bags, antiques, collectibles, ceramics and whatnot, paintings. And I was like, all right, so what's one thing that you don't have is a website. You can advertise all this stuff on your store, on your Facebook page, on your Instagram page, TikTok and whatnot, but you're just advertising it in the local area, which a lot of people, that are so caught up in life today, they're just like, hey, I'm not going to go to the store. And if you do, you go out and you go out and you find things expensive and with the economy today. So let's make it easier. Let's create a website that people can go to, that we can send people to and start posting up items and products and start establishing, hey, you want a tie-dye shirt? Let's get you a tie-dye shirt. Let's get you a tie-dye shirt. And if you live in Colorado and you like Aspire and Glow, well, guess what? We have come to our store online and I'll ship it to you. So the last couple of weeks, we've created this website that's called Aspire and Glow. Yeah. Hey. So let me go ahead and do some TLC for you right now. This is... So the website is called, it's www.aspire-glow, not dash, it's the line, the minus line. It's www.com. And check out this cool website that we have. Okay. And you get to this website, and if you're watching this, you can see the website here. We have all of our latest products. Right now, we actually have a sale going on. I'll talk about that in a minute. We see some of our featured items in our cross-shoulder Himalayan tie-dye bags, not ones alike. Also got our tie-dye t-shirts from small to 4XL. We got our backpacks. Right now we got backpacks, gift cards. I got a couple of hoodies on there. Go down to the catalog. There's an AC/DC TNT hoodie. It's like a little comic design. We'll scroll down. Got different types of shoulder bags, different kinds of Himalayan 100% THC free, 100% hemp, and it's THC free backpacks with adjustable straps, multi-zipper department, pouches on the sides for water bottles. We have a Kiss hoodie. He has a word collection of hoodies from Nirvana to Kiss to Pink Floyd, and we're working on getting these items up. And so I would encourage you guys to head out to this website. Right now, we actually have a promotion going on the tie-dye shoulder bags. If you buy a tie-dye shoulder bag, which is marked at $17.99 plus tax and shipping and handling, well, you buy one, we'll get you $5, and you use the promo code tie-dye, which is actually given to you on the top of the screen. You can save $5. So I would recommend, I recommend you guys heading out to this website, taking advantage of this deal, and help support a local business that is trying to, make his earnings, make his, his livelihood. So just on something here real quick. All right. So, but I would recommend you guys checking them out. Give them support. If you guys are in the area, check out the websites on the webpage. It's www.aspire-glow.com. Check out Tony's. When you're there, tell him I sent you. He'll be able to, talk to you, hook you up, let you know, give you the best deals possible and whatnot. So recommend definitely going, checking them out. All right. So let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Okay. The Miami Dolphins here, they have their first preseason game coming up this Friday night against the Atlanta Falcons. They will then play Saturday, August 19th against the Houston Texans on the road. And then they'll wrap up the preseason game on Saturday, August 26th on the road against Jacksonville. One of my biggest, this is where my feud comes back around to Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. Great. He's healthy. I'd love to see him play. But at what cost are we going to see him this year play the NFL, play this game that he loves, if he gets hurt again? What my biggest question is, maybe not so much for Tua. Although if I was Tua, and I'm sure he's had these conversations before, I'd recommend that Tua takes a long look in the face and really determine how much does football mean to him over life itself. Because if it was me and I got concussed to the point where I had to be carried off the field, I have to question my decisions. Just like Damar Hamlin. Okay. Now, yes, listen, I will love to watch and to see a athlete who gets knocked down to get right back up and to have success and to play again. This year, seeing Damar Hamlin play a NFL game, I'm sure he's going to get a standing ovation everywhere he goes, especially when he comes down to Paycor Stadium in the first week of November this year and play the Bengals. If he's healthy and he's on the field and he's suited up and he's going to play, I know the Bengal fans, we love him. He's going to get a standing ovation. But and that's what we love to watch. I mean, how can sports not be romantic in that way? But at the end of the day, my honest belief is, how much does a sport mean to you over family, over friends, over life? And when you've gotten yourself, listen, injuries are nature of the game. When you play sports from baseball to hockey to football, for basketball, you take the risk as a professional athlete. And, that's why there are top tier medical staff. And that's why you train and you work really hard. But injuries are part of the game. But my thing is that at what point do you sit here and say, if you're banged up and you've had serious, and I mean serious injuries in the past, at what point do you say, all right, I need to walk away from the sport? Now, Tua Tagovailoa's situation was a bit different. There was a lot of medical wrongdoing, so to speak. They pushed him back when maybe they should have held him back. And we wouldn't be in this big scenario. But and the concussion protocols have been skeptical from day one, and I don't think there's ever going to be a fine line. And we're at the professional sport level today, where it's crucial that you don't miss a single game, a single practice, a single match. We see this in wrestling all the time. How many wrestlers, fight with an injury, because the moment you leave the game, you are easily replaceable with someone that is probably better than you. But I would still question, but you know what? We got to put that aside for a moment because he's back. And I think forever how long he is back. I don't know the timetable. I'm not in the locker rooms of Miami. I don't live down in Florida, so I can't really maybe share some more intel on that. But what I could tell you about this is that there needs to be success. I do wonder how much of success he's going to have beginning of this new year. And I think that's going to be the ultimate question for 2023. With the injury last year with Tua Tagovailoa, how long is his injury? How well is he going to have a good year? So we talked about the preseason games. We get right down to the standard regular season games. And they kick things off September 10th, which is a Saturday or Sunday in Los Angeles, out there on the West Coast, taking on the Chargers. And I feel like with Justin Herbert and that new contract deal and how good the Chargers are going to walk away with the victory there. Then we jump back over to the East Coast, but before heading home, you're taking on the New England Patriots, followed by a first home game against the Denver Broncos, which would be, and the Sunday game, this game 2, week 2 is going to be a road game, Sunday Night Football. Week 3, home against the Broncos will pick up a victory, in my opinion. And then you face the Bills on the road, which then you'll have a loss. And you could pick up a victory here, and that would be a very needed victory. But I feel like this is going to be a loss week 4 on the road. You come back home to take on the Giants, where you go on to win. And then you go on to face the Panthers in week 6, where you go on to win again. Before you head to week 7, you head over to Philadelphia and you lose. Got 2 more weeks after that, week 8 and week 9 before the bye. You'll pick up the victory at home against the Patriots to split that series, and then you'll lose to Kansas City on the road before you head into the bye. So you're 5-4 heading into week 11, in my opinion. Now, playoff season around this time, this is around almost Thanksgiving time, we got to start looking into the final stretches. So you pick up the victory against the Raiders, you pick up the road victory against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and then you lose against the Commanders on the road week 13. Week 14, you'll pick up that victory against the Titans, and then you'll go on a 3-game skid against the Jets, the Cowboys, and the Ravens. When you pick up the final game of the season against the Bills And you finish off the 2023-2024 season at 9-8. Another thing that I was looking at when I was looking at this team, and you're looking at possibly the depth chart, and you have Tyreek Hill, which is a good addition to this team, wide receiver, reliable wide receiver. You also have Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Waddle. Great. Okay, so you're up to date. But then you get into, if Tua gets hurt again, who do you have filling in as a backup quarterback? Well, you got Mike White. And you got Skylar Thompson. I've seen Skylar Thompson last year. But I don't feel like these backup quarterbacks for Miami are going to be able to hold down the fort if Tua is out for any length of time. So in my, when you look at this, you're going to rely a lot, first of all, on the offensive line. You're also going to rely a lot under the fact that Tua readjusts his playing ability, just like Josh Allen did with the Bills. And he says, hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to run, get out of the pocket, and put my body on the line as much as I would so in the past. With that, Tua's going to have to stay in the pocket. Tua's going to have to really just find his connection, and maybe that's where it's going to hurt him. Because if you go out, if he goes out and he plays the same way that he played last year and he gets hurt again, I'd really question Miami's decision on keeping him on the team, especially with concussion injuries. And second, you don't have a quarterback that can really step in and fill in some pretty big shoes, especially in a pretty tough division. So that is my prediction for the Miami Dolphins. And as I mentioned, we will come back tomorrow to wrap up with the Patriots and the Jets and our standing predictions and whatnot. And don't forget, in the back end, you got Brandon Jones, you got Jalen Ramsey, who was a former cornerback of the Bengals. So that is so far your AFC East. Let's take a break, and when we come on back, we're going to talk a little bit about SummerSlam, give you spoiler predictions, and more. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, 4:44 here on the program. I know for like the last hour and a half, that was a lot of work to talk about 6 football teams. I mean, even including the Bengals to kick off the program, but I thought it was needed. All right. Well, we should be good. All right. So to wrap up our program this evening, I was prepared to talk some WWE SummerSlam. Now, I was honestly prepared to have on full-on conversations about the entire match card. But I don't have... Oh, I get it. I get buzzing feeding noise in my headset, so I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Anyways, I was going to talk about the entire program, but I do strongly feel like that was, we're going to have to spread this out a little bit. But there's a couple of things that I want to actually go ahead and just touch base with you guys today, and then finish some of the conversations later on this week. Now, as I mentioned, if you guys did not get a chance to check out the preview of our predictions of WWE SummerSlam, then I recommend doing it. I didn't do it on this program, although I did wish I did. But I ended up doing a episode Thursday morning with Steve Barber over there on Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast, very extensively talking about the match card and providing predictions of SummerSlam last week. I did that in the sense of, okay, hey, Dwaylen wasn't going to be there, so I was kind of filling in for Dwaylen at the time. And it was just a fun, good conversation. Sometimes I do like having that conversation with somebody else. And I think for the most part, we did agree on a lot of storylines. I did predict a couple of different weird scenarios. I predicted the Io Sky cash. Now I did predict Asuka winning and retaining the title, but I predicted Io Sky's Money in the Bank contract cash in. And for me, I thought that was pretty cool. We saw a little bit of everything. We saw outside interference. We saw physical matches. We saw gripe matches. Not gripe matches. We saw the high flying. We saw the physical brutes. We saw a battle royal. We saw the favorites win. We saw favorites lose. So I feel like we did see a bit of everything. We saw family feuds and so much more. So let's talk about WWE SummerSlam right after this quick ad. be sure, talking about Steve Barber, be sure to check out Steve Barber, Dwaylon Davis, Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. Their latest episode was released yesterday as they interviewed NWF's finest Star Rider as they get ready for NWF's Summer Sizzle in just about 2 weeks coming up. So check out Steve Barber, download their podcast, all audio platforms. You can be sure to like, share, and subscribe to their YouTube channel as well. Also, any of their social media pages. I know they also have podcasts going around individually. Dwaylon has one, and Steve has one called Cubicle Chat. All right, let's talk about the Money in the Bank briefcase contracts, because Eeyore Sky has the female Money in the Bank contract, and she took the advantage of cashing that title in at SummerSlam to become the new WWE Women's Champion. Now, it was a 3-woman triple threat match for the title: Bianca Belair, Asuka, and Charlotte Flair. And for me, I thought Bianca Belair was an addition so that you didn't drop. So if someone would have got pinned, you didn't have to have Charlotte Flair, who is trying to become a 16-time champion, and you're not trying to prevent, you're not having Asuka get pinned, so you don't lose 2 credibilities. And Bianca was the perfect credibility you could drop. And I really did think that Asuka would have won the match, or should have won the match, in my opinion. But I also predicted Io Sky was going to come in and cash in. Now, Steve last week mentioned that, hey, you know what, Io Sky, it's just not her time yet. Honestly, lately, these Money in the Bank winners, when is it ever time for these guys to cash it in and to get the push? And to be honest, right now, according to sources and social media, that we're finding Bayley is sidelined right now with an injury. Dakota Kai is still out with an injury. So Io Sky is kind of riding solo. So when is it the best time for her to cash in? And I would like her to, whether or not she fits the part, you could put it on her a couple. You're not really right now around any major pay-per-views. You could put the title on her, and I'm assuming that at some point Bayley is going to get greedy, and this is just opinions, and she's going to want that title for herself, and it's going to cause a feud between these 3 women. But it also allows time for the WWE to see what Io Sky has to offer in the ring as champion, and see if this allows her to, see if she works well, see if she doesn't. And then if it doesn't happen, this also allows time for Bayley and Dakota Kai to kind of heal up. So I did really like this move. I like this cash in. On the other hand, Damian Priest, who is the men's Money in the Bank briefcase holder, chose not to cash in his title against Seth Rollins. And it was Seth Rollins who defeated Finn Balor at SummerSlam. And it was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. They brought back a lot of things that related to their first match 7 years ago, where Seth power bombed Finn to the barricade, and that's where he dislocated his shoulder, and Finn got revenge on it. That's great. I think for the majority of the match, you told an incredible story. But then you got into the whole towards the end when Damian Priest tried to assist. Finn Balor looked pretty lost whether you wanted him to assist or not. Dominic and Rhea Ripley came in to help. And at the very end, Damian was like, all right, here's the briefcase. Do what you got to do. I'm going to distract the referee. Seth Rollins, it ended up backfiring because Seth Rollins hit the curb stop on Finn on the briefcase, cost him the match, and Seth Rollins walks away as champion. Now, obviously, this is in relations to creating a feud or tensions between Judgment Day alone. And I still don't mind seeing Finn and Damian. Possibly a lot of people, that I've been talking to says WrestleMania, and perfect. Let's see them at WrestleMania. But you got so much. You got August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. It's 7-8 months. That's 8 months away before you can really see these two guys and let it grow and build. Does at some point I see the title being taken off at Seth? Of course. Do I see Finn could be a potential candidate? Absolutely. The problem that I have with now seeing Finn taking the title off of Seth is that you have Payback, which you could see a one more match between these people. And that's when I would see Finn take the title off of Seth. But when you talk about, you've already lost twice. And Finn's already lost twice to Seth. So this where is now becomes a bit difficult and unrealistically for me to see a guy like Finn Balor go in on the third note and actually win the title. And if so, I think Seth has every right to have a match that has a stipulation where the Judgment Day is banned from ringside, because they've already proven that they couldn't handle business. Overall, there were some high moments. There were some low moments of SummerSlam. I liked how they kept it simple. I did went pretty long, but I felt for storyline purposes, especially for the Bloodline and Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, I think it was well worth it. I will tell you the match that I hated the most was, and a lot of people will be surprised, was actually Logan Paul and Ricochet. I will talk more about Ronda and Shayna Baszler tomorrow in tomorrow's program. But the reason why I hated Logan Paul and Ricochet so much was that it was actually such a great match. And you almost couldn't tell who was going to win. But then Logan Paul brings out the brass knuckles that end up, you basically, and Michael Cole said this the best, you had this incredible match and it's ruined by brass knuckles. So you're telling me that Logan Paul couldn't win without assistance, and I get it, it maybe feeds in, I will like this to feed into Payback coming up here in September, but it really just ruined all the high-flying work that they put in throughout the first 15 minutes of the match. I thought it was great that they opened up. I thought that they set the tone, they set the table for the future, for how SummerSlam was supposed to be. The match card I felt was pretty solid in the way that they're presenting the match card. But at the end of the day, when you have such a great match going on, and I mean, you could have had I would even settle for a roll up from Logan Paul, or even a low blow from Logan Paul to Ricochet that ends up costing him the match. But to see it brass knuckles is the part where they put it out. I feel like that was very, I'm going to say corny, and I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. So, a couple thoughts to that. Congratulations to Io Sky for winning the Women's Championship. We'll see how her title run goes. Congratulations to Seth Rollins, and unfortunately, congratulations to Logan Paul. All right, that will wrap up our 2-hour. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Tomorrow we'll talk about the Patriots and the Jets. We'll talk about the Cincinnati Reds, a little bit more about the Bengals as we get ready for Friday night under the lights. Game 1 of a preseason stretch. Be sure to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to follow and have those notifications on. And until tomorrow, you guys take care. You guys are listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.